Imagine a scenario where the very agencies meant to protect public health are quietly letting dangerous drugs slip through cracks in the system. That's exactly what 2 U.S. senators are now accusing the Food and Drug Administration of doing, and it's sparking a firestorm of debate. At the heart of the controversy, a hidden loophole allowing foreign drug manufacturers with a history of safety violations to bypass FDA import bans. But here's where it gets controversial. The FDA claims this is necessary to prevent medication shortages, while critics argue it's putting patients at risk. So, who's right? Let's break it down. The Senate Special Committee on Aging, led by Republicans and Democrats alike, is demanding transparency from the FDA. Their push comes after a ProPublica investigation revealed that the agency has granted exemptions to over 20 foreign factories since 2013. These exemptions let facilities with serious quality issues continue shipping drugs to the US, even after being banned. One example, a Sun Pharma plant in India, repeatedly flagged for contamination risks in sterile injectables. ProPublica's research shows that more than 150 drugs, including antibiotics, anti-seizure medications, and chemotherapy treatments, were allowed into the US from these banned facilities. The FDA defends these exemptions as a lifeline to prevent drug shortages, a crisis that has plagued hospitals for years. But here's the part most people miss. This practice was largely hidden from the public. Despite a 2012 law requiring the FDA to report all actions related to drug shortages, the agency didn't disclose this loophole to Congress until 2024. And even then, it was buried in a footnote of a 25-page report. Critics like Senator Rick Scott R. Flair argue this secrecy is unacceptable. Allowing potentially unsafe drugs into American homes is unacceptable, he said. Our seniors are especially at risk. But the story gets even murkier. A former FDA inspector, Peter Baker, testified before the Senate that he found shortcuts and fraud at overseas factories during his years in India and China. Inspections uncovered filthy water, contaminated vials, and even workers dumping acid on evidence. Yet, the FDA's secretive process for granting exemptions, led by a small group under former Commissioner Janet Woodcock, sidestepped these findings. Woodcock, now retired, defended the decisions, stating the FDA believed the exempted drugs were safe. We felt we didn't have to make it a public thing, she told ProPublica. The senators are now demanding answers. In a bipartisan letter to new FDA Commissioner Dr. Robert Califf, they want details on how the FDA defines drug shortages, market share data for exempted drugs, and a full list of all products allowed into the US despite import bans. The FDA has never released such a list until ProPublica published one in August after a year-long investigation using AI and data analysis to pass through old reports. These documents, now off the FDA's website, revealed factories barred from shipping drugs that still exempted with minimal explanations. So, what's the bigger picture here? Supporters of the exemptions argue that without them, hospitals would face devastating shortages of life-saving medications. Opponents, however, see a danger. But here's the question for you. Should public health agencies prioritize preventing shortages, even if it means occasionally allowing drugs from factories with a troubled past? Or does this loophole undermine the very purpose of regulatory safeguards? We want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Is the FDA protecting patients or playing a dangerous game of risk management?